If you started losing your hair and gone online looking for answers, you've probably noticed something very quickly. One side says, just take the pill. The other side says, rub some rosemary oil on your scalp and you'll have hair grow back in 30 days. And somewhere in the middle of all of this is the average person who's confused, overwhelmed, stressed out, and watching more hair go down the drain every single week. So in this video, I want to cut through that noise for you, because hair loss is not as simple as people make it out to be. And if you don't understand what's actually happening biologically, physiologically, nutritionally, hormonally, and mechanically, then you can spend years chasing treatments without ever addressing the bigger picture. For those of you who are new here, my name is Djanie-Hair. I am a qualified and experienced advanced hair, scalp, and skin practitioner with almost 30 years experience within this industry. And I'm the founder of Vegan Hair Salon, where we focus on holistic skin, hair, and scalp health. We care for textured hair and all hair types, and an evidence-informed approaches to hair loss support. And trust me, this topic gets deep, because mainstream conversation around hair loss usually starts and ends with one word: DHT. Now, yes, DHT absolutely plays a role in androgenetic alopecia. That's well established. DHT can progressively miniaturize susceptible hair follicles over time in genetically predisposed individuals. But what frustrates me is when people reduce all hair loss down to one hormone, as if the scalp exists in isolation from the rest of the body, because clinically, that's just not what we see. Hair follicles are incredibly metabolically active structures. They are affected by inflammation, stress, hormones, immune responses, nutrient deficiencies, circulation, scalp health, illness, medication, gut health, endocrine function, genetics, and even chronic tension patterns. Hair loss is multifactorial, and that changes the entire conversation. For example, there's growing interest around scalp tension and fibrosis in androgenetic alopecia. Some researchers have explored whether chronic scalp tension and reduced tissue flexibility may influence blood supply, inflammation, and follicular environment over time. Now, that does not mean blood flow is the only cause of hair loss. That's an oversimplification, but it does mean that the scalp environment matters greatly. And this is where people get trapped into the false binaries online. Either hair loss is only DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone, or hair loss has nothing to do with genetics. Both extremes miss the point entirely. The reality is that androgenetic alopecia is genetically influenced, hormonally mediated, and heavily affected by the health of the follicular environment. That's a much more accurate way to frame it. And honestly, once you start understanding hair loss this way, you stop looking for one magical cure and start looking at the bigger system. Because I have patients who come into the clinic convinced their issue was just genetics. And then we uncover severe iron depletion, chronic stress, inflammatory scalp conditions, traction practices, crash dieting, thyroid dysfunction, PCOS symptoms, or poor scalp care routines that have been ignored for years. And no one had ever joined the dots for them. That's one of the biggest problems in this industry. People are desperate. They are vulnerable and emotionally exhausted. So they are marketed either fear or fantasy, but real trichology should sit somewhere between those two extremes. Now, let's talk about inflammation for a second, because this is where things get really interesting. The scalp is skin, and like all skin, it has its own immune activity, microbiome, barrier function, sebaceous activity, vascular supply, and inflammatory responses. If the scalp environment becomes chronically irritated, whether through harsh product misuse, inflammatory conditions, excessive buildup, or infections, stress responses, underlying systemic issues that can absolutely impact follicle performance over time, that doesn't mean shampoo causes baldness, but it does mean scalp health matters more than most people realize. And honestly, this is why I get frustrated watching people throw random oils and TikTok hacks onto severely inflamed scalp without understanding what they're actually treating. Because not every flaky scalp is dandruff. Not every shedding issue is androgenetic alopecia. Not every itchy scalp needs oil, and not every receding hairline is reversible. That nuance matters. In my clinic, Vegan Hair Salon, one of the biggest things we focus on is understanding the person behind the hair loss. Lifestyle, stress patterns, scalp condition, medical history, dietary habits, hormonal triggers, hair practices, family history, because you cannot separate the hair follicle from the human being who's attached to it. And speaking of diets, nutrition absolutely matters for hair growth. Hair follicles require adequate protein, iron, zinc, selenium, vitamin D, essential fatty acids, and other micronutrients to function optimally. Nutritional deficiencies are well documented contributors to certain forms of hair shedding, especially telogen effluvium. But this is also where the internet gets dangerous. Some people act like supplements alone will regrow advanced hair loss. Others act like nutrition has zero impact whatsoever. Again, reality sits in the middle. If someone is deficient, correcting that deficiency can support healthy hair cycling. But supplements are not magic. And throwing high dose random supplements at yourself without testing can create more problems than solutions. The same goes for natural treatments. Natural does not automatically mean safe, and pharmaceuticals does not automatically mean bad. Everything should be evaluated based on mechanism, evidence, suitability, side effects, medical history, and individual response. That's what responsible practice looks like. And yes, medications like finasteride and minoxidil do help many people. They are among the most researched treatments we currently have for androgenic alopecia, but they are also not perfect. Some people tolerate them very well. Others experience side effects or decide they're not the right choice for them. And that's why informed consent matters. People deserve honest conversations, not propaganda from either side. What I care about is helping people make educated decisions instead of fear-based ones. Now, one thing I think we massively underestimate in hair loss conversations is stress. Not just emotional stress, but physiological stress, illness, sleep deprivation, inflammation, rapid weight loss, hormone disruption, burnout. The body prioritizes survival before it prioritizes your hair. That's why after periods of intense stress, many people suddenly experience diffused shedding months later. And honestly, one of the hardest parts of hair loss isn't even the hair itself. It's the identity shift. People don't talk about that enough. I've seen patients completely withdraw socially because of their hair, avoiding dating, avoiding cameras, avoiding mirrors. They lose their confidence in meetings. They stop swimming, stop wearing certain clothes. Hair is deeply emotional, which is why I think trichology, when practiced properly, has such an important role in healthcare and well-being. Not because we promise miracles, goals, but because we help people understand what's happening, what's realistic, what's treatable, what's manageable, and how to support the healthiest possible environment for their scalp and their hair. And honestly, sometimes the biggest transformation is giving somebody clarity after years of confusion. So if you're currently on your own hair journey, my message is simple. Be curious, be patient, avoid extremes, question marketing from all sides, and stop looking for one single miracle explanation. Hair loss is complex because the human body is complex. If you want personalized support, scalp assessments, textured hair expertise, or guidance on building a realistic hair and scalp and skin care strategy, you can visit us at www.veganhairsalon.co.uk. And if this video helps you think about hair loss differently, make sure you subscribe, because we're going to be diving much deeper into scalp biology, inflammation, hormones, traction alopecia, nutrition, textured hair, the hair care myths of the industry, and the things that we keep repeating. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So I'll see you in the next one.